In today's fast-paced world, addiction has taken many forms, some obvious, like drugs and alcohol, and others hidden in plain sight, like gaming, social media, or even shopping. These addictions may look different on the surface, but they all have one thing in common. They slowly take control of our minds, our habits, and our lives. Whether it's the dangerous pull of substances, the quiet grip of online content, or the endless chase for more, each type of addiction has the power to damage our health, relationships, and future. In this video, we'll uncover the top 10 types of addiction affecting people today, breaking down how they start, how they harm, and why it's so important to recognize the warning signs before it's too late. This isn't just about awareness, it's about taking back control, protecting your loved ones, and creating a life that's free from destructive habits. Addiction as a chronic brain disorder, how it changes neural pathways and affects self-control. Drug addiction, the most common and dangerous form, involving illegal and prescription drugs. Alcohol addiction, its impact on liver health, brain function, and family life. Nicotine addiction, the harmful effects of smoking and vaping on respiratory and cardiovascular systems. Pornography addiction, how it distorts perception of relationships and affects mental health. Gambling addiction, the psychological and financial toll on individuals and families. Gaming addiction, its effect on brain reward systems and social isolation. Food addiction, the role of processed food and sugar in creating compulsive eating patterns. Social media addiction, how it rewires the brain for instant gratification and reduces real-life interaction. Work addiction, workaholism, the hidden burnout risk and its effect on mental and physical health. Addiction is not simply a bad habit or a lack of willpower. It is recognized in modern medicine as a chronic brain disorder. When a person engages repeatedly in a substance or behavior that triggers the brain's reward system, it causes changes in the neural pathways responsible for motivation, decision-making, and self-control. Chemicals like dopamine are released in excessive amounts, creating an intense feeling of pleasure or relief. Over time, the brain begins to depend on this stimulation, reducing sensitivity to natural rewards such as relationships, hobbies, or achievements. This rewiring makes quitting extremely difficult, even when the person is aware of the harm being caused. Just like heart disease affects the heart or diabetes impacts insulin regulation, addiction affects brain function, making it a medical condition that requires proper treatment. Understanding addiction as a brain disorder helps remove the stigma and promotes the need for medical, psychological, and social support for recovery. It is not a moral failure, but a health condition that can be prevented, managed, and treated with the right interventions. Recognizing it early and seeking help is the first step toward breaking free from its grip. Drug addiction is one of the most severe and life-threatening forms of addiction, affecting millions worldwide. It occurs when a person becomes physically and psychologically dependent on substances such as heroin, cocaine, methamphetamine, prescription painkillers, or other illicit drugs. These substances flood the brain with chemicals like dopamine, creating intense euphoria. Over time, the brain's natural balance is disrupted, leading to cravings, withdrawal symptoms, and a reduced ability to feel pleasure from normal activities. Drug addiction damages nearly every organ in the body, including the heart, liver, kidneys, and brain. It also weakens the immune system, making the person more vulnerable to infections and chronic illnesses. Beyond physical harm, drug addiction can destroy relationships, lead to financial ruin, and increase the risk of criminal behavior. It often begins with experimentation or misuse of prescribed medication and escalates into compulsive use despite harmful consequences. Recovery requires medical detoxification, psychological counseling, and long-term support to address both the physical dependence and underlying emotional triggers. Recognizing the early warning signs, such as changes in behavior, secrecy, or declining health, can make the difference between life and death. Drug addiction is not just a personal battle, It is a public health crisis that demands urgent attention. Alcohol addiction, also known as alcoholism, is a widespread condition in which a person becomes dependent on alcohol to function physically, emotionally, or socially. Alcohol affects the central nervous system, slowing brain activity and creating feelings of relaxation or euphoria. Over time, excessive and repeated consumption alters brain chemistry, leading to tolerance, where more alcohol is needed to achieve the same effect, and withdrawal symptoms when drinking stops. This addiction can severely damage the liver, causing fatty liver disease, hepatitis, or cirrhosis. It also increases the risk of heart disease, digestive issues, brain damage, and certain cancers. Alcohol addiction impacts mental health as well, often leading to depression, anxiety, aggression, and poor decision making. Relationships may deteriorate as trust is broken and responsibilities are neglected. Socially, alcoholism can cause legal problems such as drunk driving incidents and job loss. While some people develop addiction gradually through social drinking, others may fall into dependence during stressful life events. Recovery typically involves medical detox, therapy, support groups, and lifestyle changes. Recognizing alcoholism as a treatable medical condition, not a personal weakness, encourages people to seek help early. Left untreated, alcohol addiction can be fatal, but with the right intervention, complete recovery is possible. Nicotine addiction is one of the most common and difficult addictions to overcome, largely because of its powerful effect on the brain's reward system. Found in cigarettes, cigars, and vaping products, nicotine rapidly enters the bloodstream and stimulates the release of dopamine, creating a temporary sense of relaxation and alertness. However, the body quickly develops tolerance, requiring more frequent use to achieve the same effect. This constant cycle leads to physical dependence, making quitting extremely challenging. Nicotine addiction has serious consequences for health, particularly the respiratory and cardiovascular systems. Smoking damages the lungs, increasing the risk of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease (COPD), lung cancer, and other respiratory illnesses. It also narrows blood vessels, raises blood pressure, and significantly increases the risk of heart attack and stroke. Beyond physical harm, nicotine addiction drains finances, shortens life expectancy, and often influences younger generations to start smoking through second-hand exposure and learned behavior. While vaping is often marketed as a safer alternative, it still delivers addictive nicotine and can cause lung injuries. Overcoming nicotine addiction usually requires a combination of willpower, behavioral therapy, and medical aids like nicotine replacement therapy or prescribed medications. Quitting not only restores health, but also significantly improves quality of life. Pornography addiction is a behavioral addiction where an individual becomes compulsively dependent on consuming sexually explicit material, often at the expense of their mental health, relationships, and daily responsibilities. Unlike substance addictions, pornography addiction primarily alters brain pathways related to sexual arousal and reward. Frequent exposure floods the brain with dopamine, creating an artificial sense of pleasure that can lead to tolerance, requiring more frequent or extreme content to achieve the same stimulation. Over time, this rewires the brain's expectations of intimacy, reducing interest in real-life relationships and impairing sexual function. Emotionally, it can cause guilt, shame, anxiety, and depression, while socially it may lead to isolation or conflicts with a partner. For young people, early exposure to pornography can distort their understanding of healthy relationships and consent, shaping unrealistic expectations about sex. In severe cases, it can escalate to compulsive sexual behavior or interfere with work and academic performance. Recovery involves acknowledging the problem, limiting access to triggers, seeking therapy, especially cognitive behavioral therapy, and rebuilding healthy coping mechanisms. Addressing pornography addiction is essential not just for personal well-being, but also for fostering respectful, genuine, and emotionally fulfilling connections with others. Gaming addiction, also known as gaming disorder, is a behavioral addiction characterized by excessive and compulsive playing of video games, whether online or offline, to the point where it disrupts daily life. This addiction often develops because games are designed to trigger the brain's reward system through achievements, levels, and social interaction, releasing dopamine and creating a sense of accomplishment. Over time, the player craves longer sessions to maintain the same satisfaction, neglecting responsibilities such as school, work, relationships, and physical health. Gaming addiction can lead to poor sleep, eye strain, headaches, back pain, and even conditions like carpal tunnel syndrome. Psychologically, it can cause mood swings, irritability, depression, and social withdrawal. In extreme cases, players may lose touch with reality, prioritizing virtual success over real-world obligations. While gaming in moderation can improve problem-solving skills and creativity, excessive gaming becomes harmful when it replaces real-life interactions and goals. Treatment includes setting time limits, encouraging alternative hobbies, and in some cases, professional counseling. Recognizing gaming addiction early is vital to prevent it from spiraling into long-term consequences. Striking a balance between entertainment and healthy living is the key to avoiding the damaging effects of this modern digital dependency. Social media addiction is a behavioral dependency where individuals compulsively use platforms like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or X to the point that it interferes with daily life, mental health, and real-world relationships. This addiction is fueled by the constant stream of notifications, likes, comments, and new content, which activate the brain's reward system and release dopamine, creating a cycle of craving and instant gratification. Over time, people may find themselves scrolling for hours, neglecting responsibilities, losing sleep, and becoming less engaged in face-to-face interactions. Social media addiction can also contribute to anxiety, depression, and low self-esteem, particularly due to constant comparisons with unrealistic portrayals of other people's lives. For younger users, excessive exposure can impact concentration, academic performance, and even body image. Social connections become superficial, and the fear of missing out FOMO keeps users locked in this cycle. Breaking free from social media addiction requires conscious limits such as scheduled screen-free times, disabling notifications, and replacing digital habits with offline activities. While social media can be a powerful tool for communication and learning, using it mindfully ensures it serves as a benefit rather than a controlling force in one's life. Balance and intentionality are essential to maintaining control. Food addiction is a compulsive relationship with eating, where individuals consume excessive amounts of certain foods, often high in sugar, fat, or salt, despite knowing the negative consequences. Unlike normal overeating, food addiction is driven by changes in the brain's reward system, similar to substance abuse. Highly processed foods can trigger a powerful dopamine release, creating intense cravings and a cycle of binge eating followed by guilt or shame. Over time, this behavior can lead to obesity, diabetes, heart disease, digestive problems, and joint issues, while also impacting mental health through depression, anxiety, and low self-esteem. Emotional eating often plays a role, with individuals using food to cope with stress, loneliness, or boredom. The problem is worsened by easy access to fast food and aggressive marketing of unhealthy products. Breaking free from food addiction requires identifying triggers, practicing mindful eating, and sometimes seeking therapy or support groups. Nutritional guidance can help in making healthier choices and restoring balance. While food is essential for survival, addiction turns it into a source of harm rather than nourishment. Regaining control over eating habits can dramatically improve both physical health and emotional well-being, creating a sustainable and healthier lifestyle. Shopping addiction, also known as compulsive buying disorder, is a behavioral condition where individuals feel an uncontrollable urge to shop, often purchasing unnecessary items or spending beyond their means. This addiction is driven by the temporary rush of dopamine and excitement during buying, which creates a short-lived sense of happiness or relief from stress. However, this satisfaction quickly fades, leading to repeated shopping episodes to regain the same emotional high. Over time, it can cause serious financial problems, debt, relationship conflicts, and feelings of guilt or shame. Shopping addiction is not just about material possessions. It often masks deeper emotional issues like loneliness, anxiety, or low self-esteem. The ease of online shopping, combined with constant advertising and sales promotions, makes it even harder to resist. Signs include hiding purchases, lying about spending, or feeling restless when unable to shop. Overcoming shopping addiction involves setting strict budgets, avoiding unnecessary browsing, seeking alternative coping strategies, and in severe cases, getting professional counseling. While buying things can be enjoyable and practical, when it becomes a compulsive habit, it can damage financial stability, emotional well-being, and personal relationships. Regaining control is key to preventing long-term harm and living a balanced, debt-free life. Work addiction, or workaholism, is a behavioral addiction where individuals feel compelled to work excessively and are unable to detach from their professional responsibilities, even at the cost of their health and relationships. Unlike dedication or ambition, work addiction is driven by an uncontrollable need to achieve, often fueled by perfectionism, fear of failure, or a desire for constant validation. This leads to neglecting family, social life, rest, and self-care. Over time, the imbalance can cause burnout, chronic stress, insomnia, weakened immunity, and mental health problems such as anxiety and depression. Workaholics may also struggle with feelings of guilt or worthlessness when they are not working, making it difficult to relax or enjoy leisure activities. In modern culture, where productivity is often celebrated, work addiction can be overlooked or even encouraged, which makes intervention challenging. Overcoming it requires setting clear work-life boundaries, learning to delegate, prioritizing self-care, and sometimes seeking therapy to address underlying emotional drivers. While hard work is essential for success, when it becomes compulsive and all-consuming, it stops being productive and becomes destructive. Achieving balance ensures that work remains a meaningful part of life without overshadowing health, happiness, and personal relationships. My final message to you is this: your life is worth more than any temporary pleasure an addiction can offer. Do not let a habit steal your health, your dreams, or the people you love. If you or someone you know is struggling, speak up, reach out, and fight back. Recovery is not just possible, it's life-changing. The sooner you take a step toward freedom, the sooner you reclaim control over your future. Remember, you are stronger than your addiction, and the best time to start living free is right now.